I think I'm going to hold it in tension until I read, because at the moment you're telling me your interpretation and understanding of what Bernstein says, and so far from what I've read, that you've given me to read, is not what I understand it that you've said. They're different.
Okay, so if I get you the book, a treat, okay?
Oh, it sounds like a real treat.
A joy.
A real joy.
Yes, one of the great pleasures I shall give you. Not exactly Ben Okra, The Birds of Heaven. But I'll do that tomorrow. I'll order it with Amazon, get it to this address, and I'll leave you this 20-page letter. And then, just hold the intention, and then we can just explore it over the next few months to see whether you feel that it has any potential to help your inquiry. I mean, that's all I'm wanting to do, really. And then together with this paper, the paper from the nursing journal, that feels then very positive in terms of what I certainly wanted to do. I think you wanted to do it with the nursing journal article, to get that done.
Yes. There's a slight degree of urgency about that. So, Tuesday, 3 o'clock.
Yep.
I think one of the things you can take a stand on the word "the healing nurse," and take a very good stand on it, but you have to be a little bit like an esoteric saboteur in the delivery of the codes of what you're doing. You've got to be seen to be delivering in what's an acceptable academic manner, with structured lessons, structured questions, structured training aids, testable outcomes, and all the paraphernalia of what's deemed to be Western education. But at the same time, what you ask and how you ask it and how you encourage and how you tease out the form of embodied knowledge is a very different thing. If you're going to try and challenge somebody's consciousness and raise their consciousness and get them to be aware of self and get them to look at different cosmological constructs of worlds that are outside their own remit, you can't do it directly. You just can't do it. So a lot of it's done through discussion, or the healing nurse. Everybody talks about nursing and healing, and they say, when you actually ask them, well, okay, what do you actually mean? What is healing? Then they say, well, it's and they're lost. It's not. It can't define it.
Will you be able to show it, do you think?
You can show it. I think you can show it because of the sheer look of bliss that are on patients' faces when they're having a healing treatment. There's this communication that's non-verbal, it's electric, it's, they just hit this state of, I'm using a Christian term, angelic beautification. They just go, their faces lose 10 years, their body, they sleep, they're snoring or whatever. And there is the question about how much do we actually have to prove, and are we going the wrong way in trying to collect our evidence? I mean, should it not just be enough for the patient to say, I like that, it made me feel good? But because the bean counters want value for money.
Well, if you make claims about healing,
who's making the claim?
Well, if you say that you want to help a healing nurse to develop, then one of the questions, which is legitimate, I think, is, well, what are you meaning by healing?
Yeah.
And if somebody says, well, I like that, it doesn't feel sufficient in terms of your idea of healing.
Or it makes me feel good, or it makes me feel okay, I feel much better for that. Healing is about creating space. The healer themselves are the space, and they can't create that space without the understanding of what forces and metaphysical forces are at play. physical forces, emotional forces, electrical forces, spiritual forces, mental forces, hormonal forces. These are all based in fact.
Yeah.
So the combination of the matrix is called healing, and the evidence of that.
Now, you've convinced me, really, about the sense of the need for a healing, a safe space, excuse me, within which what you've just been talking about can be experienced, in that sense being made manifest. What I think over time is still an issue, and that's why with André Dolbeck I was very committed to those weeks, in fact 6, 7, 8 weeks over time of the inquiry, where the reflections and the responses were taking place within a safe space that could actually help us to make a judgment about the nature of the healing that was taking place. Now, the worry that I have is that unless that temporal point is taken on about healing, that you're going to be left by trying to define something in a way which is almost static. So that's why the time seems to me to be really important in relation to healing.
Why? You can't define God, you can't define Buddha, you can't define Allah, you can't define it. Some things are outside of definition.
No, some things are outside definition, but if you claim, for example, that some of the things that you're doing or I am doing over time are making a difference.
But I'm not making that claim.
Okay,
I've never made that claim.
It feels to me that you've made a claim about
healing. I've never said I've made a difference. I'm saying I'm offering a space. Now what people do in that space is their own issue. And that's a fundamental belief that we believe that we can't interfere.
So, when we talk about influence, or I talk about influence, if the space that you create, which is safe, doesn't enable you to have confidence that over time, with different people, then something good appears to be happening.
It doesn't really mean, but that's a personal, subjective attachment to the process.
Yeah. So
I know and have seen hundreds of people go through a process that they seem to come out the other end of it feeling better about themselves, usually from a combination of experiencing the safe therapeutic touch and being in the safe space and able to be able to talk, and a form of counselling that doesn't judge, doesn't try and get along the inside of somebody and identify with them completely, but it's just a form of caring that's not expressed through words.
And I've no difficulty. I don't believe in comprehending what you're saying to me. And the difficulty that I would have is when you talk about healing, and the big experience that I've had in terms of what you do was with André Dolbeck, and the relationship that you had with André took place over time. So when you're talking about a healing nurse, what I'm asking, and it's a question, is what in your mind counts as healing in relation to particular individuals over time? So if we say, well, this person is
empowerment.